Hello, people. We're back here at KEXU 96.1 FM. Welcome back. And I'm the Black Cripple.
And I'm the poverty scholar. That houseless mama, that houseless daughter, incarcerated for crimes of poverty. But yeah, today we're teaching the truth, the hard medicine. We always gonna holler.
So I want to do a report. It's extremely important. Hip hop, hip hop shows afterwards, but this is really important. One of the founders of Hip Hop Nation in Uganda, started a chapter in Uganda, but he's also a journalist. And last week, he was covering the story about Parliament because one of the Parliament people was shot. So he was covering that. And because he was covering that, the police, tackled him and all the other journalists and put him in jail. So he was beaten, he was tortured for, I think, hours. And he got released with his other journalists, and he's recovering from home. Ronnie, I wrote about it. No, matter of fact, he wrote about it and gave us something to promote and to upload. So you can go on hiphopnation.com and read through his words what happened. But basically what happened, he was just a reporter, journalist, trying to cover that story, and he got beat up, tortured, and dragged into jail. So now he's back home and he's healing from his wounds, but that's what hip hop does. We're international, we're more than music. So Ronnie is a journalist, disabled journalist, been doing this for 20 years, and got beat up because he was covering the Parliament.
I also want to say that story about him recovering, written by him, live and direct from Mama Africa, will be in the next issue of Decolor News. Also, for folks who don't know, it's an all nations, all generations paper, youth-led, for the Decolonize Academy and Black Arthur and Beyond Neighborhood, Liberation Neighborhood coming to you. That said, if you also want to get an ad in Decolor News and an ad sponsorship on these airwaves, Poor Magazine is in fact Poe, and we do need your dough. That said, bloodstained dollars, but we have to do that to keep all of this going, to keep telling you the truth, to keep bringing you the realness, and it is very, very serious. So if you are interested in getting one of these beautiful ads in this beautiful paper, / also becomes an ad sponsorship and a sponsorship and a spot on the radio, hit us up at poormag@gmail.com. That's POORMAG@gmail.com. Or you can call 510-435-7500. Again, you're listening to Poor People's Revolutionary News Hour with Leroy and Tiny, and on Tuesdays this airs between 6 and 7, also with myself and our brother Poor Magazine Migrante Warrior, Indigenous Warrior Muteado Silencio. So next up we're dealing with
The gentrification report?
yes, sadly, a weekly segment of the news hour is what we call the gentrification report, except we add a little different emphasis to the F and the K, if you get my drift, family. That said, today, myself and Leroy and Muteado and Queen Nandi Exshaba and many of our poor family were out at the Paula Trickster Hall, aka Oakland, Stolen Ohlone, LaShawn Land, downtown Oakland, Oscar Grant Plaza, to stand with Sister Frankie Velez. Shout out to Frankie, an indigenous Boricua woman with her family who are all being evicted from their longtime residence. She is a disabled vet. She is a land warrior and a revolutionary. But more importantly, she's a beautiful human. She's a mama. She's an Army veteran who fought, quote unquote, for this fake stolen freedom that nobody has here, especially us poor folks. And now she's facing eviction in a matter of days from her home. So we're going to cut to a little cut from that powerful press conference today and rally and hear what Frankie has to say. Listen up, fam.
Press release. Bienvenidos a todos. I'm here today. My name is Frankie Velez, and I've got something to tell to the world, and I'd like to be heard. I'm not here just by myself. I'm here with other people from Homefulness, from Sustainable Economies Law Center, other people that I organize with, other people that have a voice that want to be heard. We want to talk about gentrification. We want to talk about fairness. We want to talk about survival for our communities and thriving for our communities. I'm here to talk and have my free voice and have my freedom and be heard and not need somebody's permission to be here to exist on Earth, on stolen land. I am Native American and I'm speaking out against the evil empire that exists in this building right here behind me. And I am not alone. I'm surrounded by people who love and care about me. This is not just about me, this is about Oakland. This is about everybody who's in the kill line. If you are participating in capitalism and you can hear my voice, you have oppressed somebody today. And you need to wake up to the reality that we will not take it anymore. We're here to stand up and fight back. Pissed off. Eviction is death. Displacement is death. My ancestors are the dirt that we walk on. You will honor my ancestors from here on out. Coming. They're coming back. We're tired.
Talk about what happened to you.
Okay, so I live at 72 7th Street, across the street from Laney College. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but it has been under attack by the A's, who wanted to buy all that property and turn our home into some capitalist playground. My house was under foreclosure because it was flipped by Wells Fargo in 2008 when they gave my cooperative former landlord a bad loan. They gave him a bad loan and they wanted his house. And I came there and I was a part of the cooperative and we were fighting Wells Fargo because we're going to stand up and fight back. Because we are the dirt. Because we are here and we deserve to live. And now my house was purchased by somebody who thinks that they own it and are actually from another country. They went across the ocean to my house to knock on my door to ask me to leave. It is the most grossly inappropriate thing I have ever heard of. Colonization is over. I will not be bullied anymore. Do you hear me? Right. Yeah. Woo, 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 woo. We are here. We are not going anywhere. If you can hear my voice, stand up.
Yeah.
Right. This investor from China, if she thinks she's gonna come kick me out of my house, she is severely confused. And I need people to stand with me. I am a disabled combat veteran. I have put my life on the line for this piece of shit. You can't get a roof. I can't get a roof. You can't get no peace, motherfucker. I'm tired. We're tired, Oakland. We need some peace.
Okay, we're back here at KEXU 96.1 FM. That happened today in Oakland City Hall. And you can read more about it on Florida News Network, and Tony has more information.
So Sister Frankie is Sister Frankie is in a situation that specifically right now putting her family at risk of being on the street. Again, we make the connections between how so many of us have now joined what I call the unhoused nation. Not accidental. For folks who don't know that, you can look on Poor News Network Roofless Radio. That's ROOF, Less Radio, where we go all across the bay to all of this stolen occupied land and talk to unhoused poverty scholars, and they tell their own stories. But we did our own what we call research, which is poor people-led research, not academic pimped research. Like I always say, no matter how many times you study me or put me in jail, it doesn't give me a home. But it's our own poor people-led research. And the numbers that we came up with were 92% of the folks on the street right now were formerly housed within the last year and a half. That means there's a direct correlate between the rise in evictions and speculator-fueled removal. So one of the important pieces to pull out of what's happening with Frankie, she talks about the international speculator. There was a woman who literally came with the sole purpose of buying and selling Mother Earth. And again, how do we make these connections between Mother Earth destruction, so-called climate change, and the unhoused nation, and all of us poor people across Mother Earth? We had all we needed, right? Now we're put in a position of scarcity. Part of the reality is, like in the case of Frankie and her family and all of the other 3 tenants who are elder and disabled and people of color, right in Oakland, in East Oakland, is this speculator came saying to their realtor that they wanted an apartment to flip. Now you all know about the flipping, right? Fix it up, clean it up, listen to the hygienic metaphors about poor people, and then kick everybody out so that they could turn that building into either an office building, because it's R4 mixed use, or into a high-rise condo. So we're talking about the relationship between Mother Earth destruction and unhoused nation. So this humble area that was actually a farm for the families there, housing for the families there, is now being considered as a place to, as I call, redevelop or speculate on, with the sole purpose of profiting off of. The human who came from China is an extreme wealth hoarder. I mean, by her own admission, she's a wealthy woman. I walked into the rent board, which is a bizarre sci-fi horror movie for us renters, where literally the whole purpose of it is to make sure landlords or scam lords get heard. She walked in there in a $3,000 handmade silk suit, and literally went up to the mic and said, "This woman," not even looking at Frankie, "has no case," even though she did. Even though it's a severe case of habitability, of a scam lord not even being involved in their property, etc. So we are asking that people step up. How? We made a direct demand to the city of Oakland, to the politricksters, to actually give abandoned land to folks like Frankie so that they can build models like we're doing here at Homefulness. This is not a dream. It's not a hippie utopic idea. This is real. This is poor people, houseless folks, disabled folks, indigenous people building our own self-determined nation. That's how we're even able to do this radio show. So connecting the dots. Homefulness can happen anywhere, and it should be happening for Frankie in the building. So we asked the city to actually redistribute some abandoned land. Then we also said redistribute some of those stolen and hoarded wealth that the city sits on under these fake tax codes that are set up by settler colonizers to criminalize and steal from poor people and indigenous people, so that Frankie can buy her own land, or that other poor people can collectively buy land and create homefulness like we're doing here. And last but not least, a very real, simple thing that can be done by Libby Schaff and whoever hopefully comes after her, that they can actually put a moratorium on these speculator-fueled evictions, because, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say, because, putting a hold on this is also realizing that gentrification goes against the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Fair Housing Act. All of these legal laws that we work so hard to push our legislators and our politicians to pass, these laws are being overlooked while gentrification keeps on growing. Under this administration, matter of fact, Ben Carson just put out that they're trying to weaken the Fair Housing Act. So they're trying to weaken it. So once again, these gentrification, if we're gonna, really respect people's legal rights, and City Hall and these politicians need to really look at the Fair Housing Act and look at California access laws that even are tougher than the federal act. So we really have to look at these legal acts and push these politicians to really enforce them, and that would totally, at least get some kind of relief of this hyper gentrification city we live in.
Yeah, and similarly, I want to do a shout out not only to Karina Gold, First Nations, Aloni Lashawn relative fighting so hard for the sacred site in Berkeley, but also to our brothers and sisters in the RV community in occupied Berkeley, named after the colonizer who stole it. And maybe Diallo can cue up just a few seconds of the Roofless Radio, the one we just did. So brothers and sisters out there who are going to be our new Roofless Radio correspondents were evicted by politricksters in Berkeley. Just taking you back really quickly, these folks, not that one, but the other one, these folks were peacefully parked down at the shoreline in Berkeley, right? For listeners and viewers across the world, just so you know, these words like dirty, crazy, messy, lazy, they're always said about houses, folks, are all other ways to criminalize our bodies and our lives. And so, keep going down. No, you have to hit the arrow. Hit the arrow. So anyway, sorry. The point being is that the city of Berkeley, California, who claims to be, conscious, right? Hip-hop-crazy, I call it, evicted all of these RVs.
This one?
All at once. Not because they were dirty. Not because they were making a mess. Again, think about the words, the ways they talk to us. But in fact, because they wanted their shoreline clean, and so that they could sell it basically to tourists. So we're going to just listen to a minute of our new correspondence from Roofless Radio.
And we're just here today because, we're here basically at the Berkeley Marina, and although we beat the government, they refuse to sue us. And basically all the people are asking for is like a vacant place where we can park our cars safely. We are the Berkeley Friends on Wheels, and this is our community.
And just for listeners and viewers, you're tuning into the first historic broadcast on 96.1 FM KEXU of Roofless Radio. That's ROOF, less radio. That's us poor folks who may not have access to a roof, making our own media about our own stories. So, what's your name, huh?
My name is Jessica Prado.
Okay.
My name's Christian.
Okay.
Patrick.
Kimberly.
Amber.
Great.
Okay. Go back. You guys could set a little bit more tone. So you were at Berkeley Marina, and what happened there?
So we're in the Berkeley Marina, first of all, in the middle of the lot. That's in front of just out of the hotel, Double Tree Hotel. And basically we were there for over a year. We were all, just being part of society, going to school, going to work, until then on April, Easter Sunday, they started giving us notices to move our vehicles, 72-hour notices. And that's how we first clashed against the government, basically. And then afterwards, they didn't have enough enough to kick us out then, but then they kicked us out on May 30th, which is another holiday. So one of the things is that they keep targeting us on the holiday when there is no public to see what's happening. So I think that's something important that they use that as a tactic for a while now. And then, so after we were at the metal lot, we had to move within the marinas.
So that's just a little bit. If people want to watch it, again, Poor Magazine is in fact posed. You can see that if you're watching it on YouTube, you can see that our transmission is not the greatest. It will get better. But the bottom line is these revolutionaries down there are basically trying to live humbly on Mother Earth. And as Loa talked about earlier, trying to be subsistence, again, the criminal ways of saying it, they're trying to live humbly on Mother Earth. And the politricksters in Hippocrazy, Berkeley, are criminalize them for the sole act of sleeping in their car and making it somehow uncomfortable for the yuppie, hipster, and gentrifier residents of Berkeley. So that's the kind of reality that we're dealing with. And actually, when we talk about climate change, we need to talk about the relationship to poverty, to homelessness, to disability, and the ways that we can actually live interdependently instead of continually caught in this cult of independence, which is not good for anybody or Mother Earth. So we're going to sign out. I do want to say you're listening to the Poor People's Revolutionary News Hour on PNN-KEXU 96.1 FM with
The Black Cripple.
And please stay tuned. We're going to take a short music break, and then you're going to hear the Crip Hop Nation and the Poor People's Liberation Radio hour and a half, which includes Crip Hop, Mark G, Joey Villarreal, Free Aslan, Sister Save a Soul, and more. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with you. Much love, peace, and stay woke, stay conscious, and definitely don't perpetrate the violent act of looking away from us poor folks we hear every day.